as we catch up with 2025 releases and all of the months of top 10 albums I missed on the YouTube channel. We start with August, and this is the top 10 albums of August, the top 10 picks that I either reviewed or otherwise. And the first one actually I didn't review. This is a Finnish death metal band, Obscenum, and this EP, In the Depth of Impurity. This is a traditional death metal sound. It reminds me of the era of Finnish death metal back in the early 2000s when uh, bands were picking up on old school death metal and kind of putting something a little bit new in it. It was a movement that bands like Crips kind of showed up around that time. That's what this reminds me of. Check it out for yourself. At number 9, we have Vermian Death, the latest album from Grave Hex. This is another Finnish death metal band. This one is more influenced by hardcore punk and kind of grinding sounds. It's a very short album. It's a pretty succinct and solid in what it does. It didn't stand out as much as other releases in the month, but it still made the top 10. It's a solid record. Check it out. Slovakian progressive black metal band Pornut have released their latest record, which is kind of a concept album with an interesting, kind of comical, but also metaphysically inspired theme behind it, a story, and one with very interesting symbolism overall. Really worth checking out for its sound, for its compositions. They're very inspired in their ways, and I think if you're a fan of progressive black metal, this will be something that will pique your interest. Death doom metal band Anthrodynia comes from members of, I believe, Begrime Exemius, and Unspeakable Horrors Emanating from Within is their debut album. Little unexpected. It's a death doom metal album with a pretty classic sound, some modern death doom ideas, but it was just a pretty straightforward record, solid riffs, just good quality presentation overall, and a couple of memorable songs. I think the second half isn't as good as the first, but still a good record. If you are a fan of Greek black metal and the Hellenic black metal sound, you'll probably already know Medieval Demon on some level. They've released quite a few records in the last several years after kind of reforming and reinvigorating their sound. I think this latest one, All Powers of Darkness, is one of their best. It is kind of an epic and orchestral take on classic Hellenic black metal. It does some things that are more typical of Norwegian black metal here and there, but most of it is austere, grand, and grotesque. It's a pretty cool record, and one that I would recommend here at number 6 of the month. All Under Heaven is a debut full length album from United States based death doom metal band Theurgian. I would say they're kind of a mixture of kind of Peaceful 3 inspired doom, death doom, and gothic metal at the same time. It comes together in their own voice. It is actually pretty tasteful despite the gothic tag and the relation to old British doom. And it's an entertaining record. It's one that is, I think, made most stand out by its vocals, but there are some compositions on here that are just genuinely catchy and heavy too. So, unique record and one that I think was a little bit overlooked. At number 4, we have a pure thrash metal record, kind of an aggressive take from this band from Louisiana, where they've inserted more shred, they've sped up their sound, they've kind of got this late era, nothing sacred, Laz Rocket kind of look and sound for this record. Very catchy, very aggressive. Again, a good example of thrash metal being used as storytelling. Just very much worth checking out if you're a fan of traditional thrash metal and its variant. I think Innumerable Forms have been nothing but consistent. Even their earliest stuff, which is maybe more influenced by Finnish death metal, had a classic death metal sound that translated to both doom and just kind of classic late 80s, early 90s transitional sounds. And as they leaned into Death Doom and some Peaceful 3 inspired movements, they only became more interesting. And this Pain Effulgence turns the needle back towards something a little bit more traditional, a little bit more aggressive and upfront. And I think that balances out their sound into something well rounded. It's a great record and well worth picking up. Irish black and death metal band, or I would say avant garde death metal band, Malthusian, is experimental on the Summoning Bellow. Not as much as they have been in the past, but they've worked in both their personality of abstract and aggressive, dissonant blackened death metal into more of a pure death metal sound. It's something that's a little bit more approachable. It's an interesting debut for the switching over to Relapse and all that, and it seems to be generally well received. Overall, August wasn't that impressive of a month to me. All these albums that I've mentioned here are great. There's a couple more I could have talked about otherwise, I don't think that anything in the top 10 was necessarily uh, fully warranted for like a inclusion in the top 50 of the 2025. So that's kind of my hindsight looking back. What I will say is that Prescription's Desolate Divine was an undeniably great death metal record. It's got a little bit of the Black and Death style, but it's mostly a death metal record, and an aggressive one with fine art direction, great production values, and tons of riffs. It's hard to deny the appeal of this record, and it was a joy to sit with it any chance I got. So that is my album of the month for August. Check it out if you haven't already.